example. The last one we'll do in this format. Let's get our A, H, and K values. Our A value is 2. There is no H so in this example, so our H value is 0, and our K is -5. Good. So the vertex is HK, if we remember, and that is, in this case, 0, -5. Good. Our axis of symmetry is x equals h. In this case, our h value is 0, so our axis of symmetry is x equals 0. Is it being stretched or compressed? Yes, A is equal to 2. 2 is a number greater than 1, therefore it's being vertically stretched. Vertically stretched by a factor of 2. Make sure you write a factor of, I just didn't have room in there to do it. Okay. Direction of opening, because A is a positive value, it opens up. Therefore, we know that the y value is going to have a minimum. Okay? When it opens up, the parabola has a minimum value. X can be any number, any real number. Values that y may take. We know that because the parabola opens up, it has a minimum value. That minimum value is y equals -5. So this parabola will never, ever, ever go below -5. Okay? It can be any value above -5, but it will never go below -5. So y will always be greater than or equal to -5. If we sketch this parabola, we'll choose our x values again. Remember, our h value is 0. So that's going to be our middle x value. And then we're going to choose values sequentially to the left and right. So -1, -2, and 1, 2. If we plug those values into our parabola, we will get into the equation of our parabola, sorry. So if I plug in -2 for x, I will get 3, -3, -5, and that's symmetrical, so I know these will be -3 and 3. This is our vertex, 0, -5. Highlight that for us. Good. Let's plot that first. Okay, you always plot your vertex first. So 0 on the x-axis, and then -5 on the y. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's our vertex. If I go, let's go to the left this time. So at -1, it will be a y value of -3. At -2 on the x-axis, it'll be a y value of 3, right here. Good. And then once again, I will put that axis of symmetry, vertical line through the vertex. We know the parabola is symmetrical on either side of that, so the y values to the right of the vertex will be the same as the ones to the left. And there we go. Draw our curve through the points. There's my parabola there, and good. We're all done with that question. Next, the graph of y equals x squared is reflected in the x-axis, compressed vertically by a factor of 1/4, translated to 1 unit to the left and 2 units down. Write the equation of this parabola. So that sounds like a lot of information. But if we consider it one piece at a time, we'll be able to figure this out, no problem. Okay, so the overall goal of this question is to figure out the equation of the parabola. Okay, so we have to figure out the values for A, H, and K if we want to write the equation of this parabola in vertex form. So let's take a look at the information that's given to us. We are told that it is compressed vertically by a factor of 1/4, and that is reflected in the x-axis. All that information is necessary for determining our A value. We know A is responsible for the vertical stretches or compressions. So our A value, it's compressed by a factor of 1/4. So our A value is 1/4. But we also know that it's reflected in the x-axis. So that means that it must be a negative A value. So A is -1/4. Okay, so we've used that information. Now, what else does it tell us? It tells us it's translated 1 unit left Let's do that first. So we know horizontal translations, h is responsible for that. We know that if it moves to the left, it must be a negative h value. So our h value here must be -1. The question also tells us that it moves 2 units down. K is responsible for the vertical translation. So the k value must be -2, because when k is negative, it moves down. So our k value is -2. If we're going to write this equation, all we do is sub in these values. So sub in -1/4 for A, -1 for H, and -2 for K. Okay. Once we do all that, we get y equals -1/4 x minus h is -1, so plug in -1 for h, and k is -2. Good. We simplify this, get y equals -1/4 x plus 1 squared minus 2. Perfect. There's our final answer. This is the equation of a parabola that is vertically compressed by a factor of 1/4, reflected in the x-axis, moves 2 to the left, and 2 down. Next example, write an equation of the parabola with vertex 1, 7, opening up, with a vertical stretch of a factor of vertical stretch of factor 3. So we know our vertex is 1, 7, and we know our vertex gives us our h and k values. Now when we want to know about our a values, it tells us that it has a vertical stretch of a factor of 3. So our a must be 3. Okay? And it opens up, so our a value is positive. If we sub all of that into the vertex form of a parabola, we sub all that in. We sub in 3 for a, so we get 3. X minus 1 is our h value, and 7 is our k, so plus 7. There's the answer for that parabola. Next example. Is this the last one? No, 2 more to go. Write an equation for the parabola vertex -2, -3. So our vertex is -2, -3. Opening down, and with vertical compression of factor 2/5. Okay, so we were told our vertex, and we know our vertex is our h and k values. So what we next have to figure out is what our a value is. It has a vertical compression of factor 2/5, so our a is 2/5, but it also says that it opens down, so that means our a value is negative, so our a value is -2/5. Sub all of that in to our vertex form of the equation of the parabola, and we get the answer, y equals -2/5 x minus -2 squared minus 3. Okay, if we simplify that, get y equals -2/5 x plus 2 squared minus 3. Good. Okay, for this last question, this is just kind of a review of what we've done before. We just need to describe the transformations from y equals x squared to y equals -2x plus 2 squared plus 7. So our a value is -2, our h value is also -2, and our k value is 7. If we're going to describe this transformation, because the a value is negative, it's reflected in the x-axis. Reflected in the x-axis. Good. Our h value is negative, so we know that it moves to the left, and h is -2, so it moves to the left 2, so shift left 2. And our k value is +7, so it goes up 7. And I also forgot to write the fact that because our a value, it's less than -1, so it's -2. That also means that our parabola is going to be stretched vertically by a factor of 2. Good. So that's all for this lesson. What you have to do after completing all of this is this worksheet right here. 4.4 homework part 1. So you're going to practice filling out these charts where you have to label the vertex, axis of symmetry, stretch or compression factor, direction of opening, and then state the domain and range, the values x may take and the values y may take. We're going to have to write some equations based on the description and graph some parabolas using a table of values. Okay, so complete all of that. The answers are posted so you can check and make sure you're doing it properly, and make sure you have that done for tomorrow. Awesome. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, please leave comments. Other than that, thanks again, and I will see you soon.